I want to welcome you back to our primary election 2018 coverage here at ABC Action News. Joining us now, Congressman David Jolly and Congressman Patrick Murphy, as we're looking at the numbers now closer of the Democratic primary for the governor's race. This lead is now widening for Andrew Gilliam at this point, and we're looking at those numbers. Andrew Gilliam 34% to Gwen Graham's 32%, and that lead again widening with 86% of the precincts reporting. Patrick Murphy, I ask you this question. How did this happen? Because a lot of people thought that Gwen Graham was going to pull this off. Andrew Gilliam now coming out of nowhere.
It's borderline shocking. I mean, I will tell you from the Graham camp that they were concerned with Andrew Gilliam, that they saw in the last week to 10 days a surge there. I don't think they thought it would be this close, and based on what we're seeing right now, Gilliam is up a couple points, with Broward County still with about 50-60% left to report. Broward County is traditionally a very progressive county. Right. He is winning that 2-1 over Gwen right now. If those numbers continue, this will be Andrew Gilliam's nomination.
Yeah, and he hit the ground hard in the last couple of weeks. Was the Bernie push at the very end there enough to do this?
Oh, I think so, and recognize there was money from George Soros and Tom Steyer in very early in this race. You know, I think the challenge for both candidates, Ron DeSantis and should it be Andrew Gilliam tomorrow, is they really have to introduce themselves to voters in Florida. Because tonight you see very well-informed partisan voters turn out for their own party's primaries. Going into November, there's a lot of Floridians who don't know anything about Andrew Gilliam or Ron DeSantis, should Andrew be the nominee. And what we saw in DeSantis' speech tonight, I think a lot of voters may have seen an ideologue, but not somebody who demonstrated a clear command of Florida issues. Is the Trump factor enough? Or do the candidates talk about education and Medicaid and guns and the environment?
Well, what is interesting, I was going to say, is that Adam Putnam spent 3 times the money that DeSantis did, and he was ahead solidly until President Trump said, no, this is the guy you got to vote for. And it seemed that if you were a President Trump supporter, you voted for DeSantis, and he got his base when he came out to do that rally for DeSantis. It was a huge crowd to show you the support that he still has here in Florida.
That's right. DeSantis largely said tonight, just like Donald Trump, I want to drain the swamp, and I'm going to do it in Tallahassee. The problem is, this is a state government that's been controlled by Ron DeSantis' own party for 20 years. So what is he going to do differently than current Republicans? Andrew Gilliam has the opportunity, should he be the nominee, to say, I'm going to act differently on guns and education and the environment and all these other issues that Democrats, at least, and a lot of independents in Florida care about.
Especially the red tide issue, for sure,
That's right.
And gun safety, considering the shootings that we've had. We want to go to Paul LaGrone for more reaction, and I think he's going to break down these latest results county by county. Paul?
Yeah, a lot to talk about here. Let's map out where the numbers are taking us at this hour as we head into 9 o'clock this evening, 10 minutes past 9. And I want to tell you that there's about 26,000 votes separating Andrew Gilliam and Gwen Graham right now. Andrew Gilliam in the lead. When we look at the county by county breakdown in Hillsborough right now, pretty tight. You see that, about 4,000 votes separating the two. The story really goes to South Florida, where he's pulling a lot of support from the major metropolitan areas. Double the vote in Miami-Dade, almost double the vote in Broward County, which still has a lot left to report. Double the vote up in Duval County in Jacksonville, where he campaigned. 10,000 vote lead in Orlando and Orange County tonight. Even taking arguably the home territory away, they could both lay claim to Leon County and Tallahassee. But the question could come down to Palm Beach County and how much more votes are in Palm Beach County for Gwen Graham tonight and Andrew Gilliam. If Gwen Graham can get more votes out of Palm Beach County, this may not be over yet, because there's about 40% more to go in Palm Beach County, and we should add a lot of these South Florida counties. We still have some votes to tally. All right, I want to send it live to Ryan Smith and Gwen Graham's campaign right now. Ryan.
Yeah, Paul, that's right. Just over the last half hour or so, you can really tell from a supporter standpoint of all these people here, the mood shifting in a way. As you can see on the onset out here, they still remain very energetic, very confident, but I can tell you privately, I've spoken with several, and they tell me, boy, are they nervous, especially when they saw for the first time tonight that front runner lead flip to Andrew Gilliam. Many didn't expect this. Gwen Graham has had a commanding lead through this entire campaign. Andrew Gilliam certainly displaying a late surge, but Graham maintained the lead heading into this election day and for much of the evening. So that means this is the first time they've seen their candidate on the ropes fighting to return to a front runner position. Her father, a political heavyweight in Florida, former governor and U.S. Senator Bob Graham, told me tonight they were prepared for a tight fight in the end. but he says he prepared his daughter for this moment and believes if she is able to come away the winner tonight, almost in an upset fashion at this point, he believes she will become a better governor than he was. And as I said, while the energy and optimism on the outset remains high, many supporters out here telling me, again privately, that if Andrew Gilliam is the guy for the Democratic primary, they will of course support him. That's the latest live here in downtown Orlando. Wendy and Jameson, let's go back to you in the studio.
All right, Ryan, thank you. And just for talking about this race earlier, just a short time ago, if this ends up being Andrew Gilliam tomorrow and versus Ron DeSantis, you could not have two opponents who are further on the spectrum, the political spectrum, than these two guys.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's interesting because David Jolly and I spoke about, running together on a ticket that included a Republican and a Democrat trying to unite and find that sort of middle ground to get things done. Mm-hmm. But what we're seeing is the exact opposite of that right now. And so many people that I speak to anecdotally say, hey, Patrick, why can't we unite? Why can't we get things done? Yet we're seeing the opposite behavior by the voters here this evening.
I was going to say that's the first thing that you see when you see these votes and the tallies play out tonight. You are seeing everyone on the opposite end of the spectrum. You are not seeing centrists here in Florida on both sides. We're so divided.
True. Each candidate, though, in the next 10 days will likely choose a running mate. And they will choose whether to double down with kind of that hard ideology of the wings that vaulted them to the nomination, or do they try to create some type of bridge to more independent, moderate voters?
All right, well, we want to go to Democrat Philip Levine, who I believe is taking the podium to talk about these results. Let's listen in.
I'd like to thank right off the bat is my wife, Catalina, who's sitting here in the front. By the way, truly put up with so much. You can't imagine when someone runs for office, it really means you're running and you're everywhere and you're all over the state and you don't have enough time to spend with your family. And of course, I get to spend more time with my son Benno and make sure he's off Fortnite, okay? And Mika, and my new baby boy who's at home right now. We put together the most incredible campaign staff that I think I've ever seen. And I gotta tell you, every single one of them did such amazing work. From Christian over to Matt Van Name to the person that we could put out a little bit who did great media, all those amazing commercials, Adam Goodman, who's all the way in the back, who did unbelievable work. There's so many people in our campaign.
All right, breaking news. We're just hearing that the Associated Press has ruled Andrew Gilliam as the winner for the Democratic governor's race, 34% to Gwen Graham's 32%. Philip Levine, as you just saw, conceding the race with just 20%, and Jeff Green with just 10%. And we were talking about the issue of how much money you can spend on a campaign and win. It worked for Governor Rick Scott years ago. It obviously did not work for Jeff Green and even Gwen Graham and Putnam, who had all the money going in, and the two who won, DeSantis and Gilliam, no money they spent.
Yeah, and Gwen Graham played nice the whole time on all of her ads and just kind of played it straight down the line. I don't know if that worked.
Doesn't appear so.
Yeah.
And this really cuts against the norms of politics for the person with the most money. In fact, you look at this, Jeff Green spending $40 million of his own money coming in fourth, and the person with basically the least amount of money, Andrew Gilliam, perhaps winning this election.
Yes, it's incredible. Chris, you said we have a live look of Andrew Gilliam's camp. I think they're waiting for him to come out now that the Associated Press again has called him the winner of the Democratic governor's race. We are waiting for him to take the podium.
You can certainly tell they're excited there. They have every reason to be tonight. Nobody expected this except for them.
And as soon as he starts speaking, we will go to him live so you can hear what he has to say. But it's certainly a surprise, especially, and you talk about household names, Putnam and Graham, especially because of her father. People knew them, especially in the state of Florida. And you got two people who, in Florida, a lot of folks don't know.
That's true. The base voters came out tonight, and they came out strongly. But I also have to point out, and we have to recognize the history that's been made tonight.
Yeah.
Regardless of the side of the aisle you're on, regardless of the candidate you supported, to have a nomination for governor, a nominee for governor, who is an African-American leading candidate.
And young.
Yes. Your heart does have to flutter a little bit to recognize this is a very special moment, not unlike when John McCain recognized it was a special night when Barack Obama won as well. Florida voters are going to have a real contrast and a choice going into November, and it'll be an interesting one, but recognize tonight what Andrew Gilliam did was historic and very special.
Can we talk about that contrast real quick? Because you're talking about Ron DeSantis here at this point, who has run on the ticket of a kind of a blank slate policy at this point and playing the I'm with Donald Trump card. Right. Can he actually do that and propel himself to victory in November with that?
It'll be interesting to see, because historically in a state election you talk about education and healthcare and the environment and those local issues. We haven't seen any of that on the Republican side. Going forward, the question is, does he continue to sort of pander to the base, the Trump voters, or switch over to these local issues? I bet it'll be more of a national race. I mean,
it's the first page in his playbook.
Yeah, looking at Twitter and social media, people want to talk about the national news. I think that will continue going forward.
And again, it is now, as you just saw, that check mark next to Andrew Gilliam's name, Associated Press now declaring him the winner. So you have two very, very different candidates going head to head. Andrew Gilliam beating Gwen Graham, 34% to 32%, Associated Press calling him the winner of the Democratic governor's race. And as you mentioned, two very different players here now going head to head for the governor's race. And I wonder if many different elections for the general election will go this way, and see, if the Trump factor helps some of these candidates or doesn't, depending on the state.
Right. And you look at Georgia, we have a similar composition there for that governor's
right
race
now
as we do in Florida. So it'd be interesting to see how this all plays out, but this is going to be a battle of who can get their people out, right? Whose base is going to show up.
Right.
A lot of that I think will have to do perhaps with the Mueller investigation, with Donald Trump's tweets, with whatever's going to happen in the next 60 or so days in Washington, D.C. will have probably a bigger effect than these two candidates.
And how does Andrew Gilliam attack this now at this point? He's got to go after Gwen Graham's camp. He's got to also find those voters on the Republican side of things who have said, you know what, I'm not voting Republican anymore. I'm not happy with what's going on in Washington. How does he start to shift them and make them feel comfortable as well?
There are a lot of candidates who have come up against the Trump phenomena and lost. I bear the scars of it. And I think Ron DeSantis is going to go all in. It is the only thing that works for Republicans right now to energize your base and keep them motivated. Andrew Gilliam wants to talk about the issues. He wants to talk about teacher pay, minimum wage, guns, Medicaid expansion. And honestly, Florida voters deserve that conversation. And so if you're Andrew Gilliam, I think it's not only where you are on the issues, but the fact that if Ron DeSantis chooses not to speak about those issues, that itself is a contrast as well.
Would it also help for him to call a running mate like Gwen Graham, who's more centrist, who's not quite progressive as he is, and not as liberal as, you know what I mean? And that way, maybe some of the conservatives on the Republican side would come over.
Both parties have this conversation. Conservative Republicans don't want a rhino, a moderate Republican. Democrats often say the way to win statewide is not to go Republican light, but to double down. This will be an early leadership decision by both Andrew Gilliam and Ron DeSantis. Do they double down on the ideological battlefront, or do they make a more consensus pick?
Well, what do you think makes the most sense?
It's going to be a really interesting test. I mean, we're watching what they both do. As my gut would say, they go more toward the middle, but watching these results, they might be better off doubling down. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see, and some of it might have to do with their supporters, right, thus far that have gotten them there, especially their financial supporters.
Okay, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to take a quick break as we do a live television cut in just a moment. Stay with us.
This is ABC Action News, live coverage of Democracy 2018, primary night in Florida.
All right, welcome back. We're covering the election for the primary night here, and we have breaking news. Andrew Gilliam has just been pronounced the winner by the Associated Press for the Democratic candidate for governor. As you see the numbers there, Andrew Gilliam with 34% of the vote, with Gwen Graham at just 32%. Again, the Associated Press calling it for Andrew Gilliam. We take a live look at his party right now. As you see, he was about to take the mic and speak to his supporters, and as soon as he takes the podium, we will bring you his victory speech live.
Yeah, that certainly is an excited party up there in the Panhandle tonight as the results are coming in for Andrew Gilliam. On the other side of things, Gwen Graham's camp tonight in Orlando as these results came in. Certainly disappointing on their end. Our Ryan Smith is live for us tonight in Orlando with the latest from that watch party. Ryan, what's the latest there?
Jameson, I can certainly tell you just within the last few minutes, we saw a dramatic shift in the mood and environment here from optimism and confidence to now a bit of disappointment. Take a look behind me. These supporters have been simply glued to their phones and the big screen TV tonight, watching this race as it came down to a razor-thin margin. This is a major upset tonight. Many didn't expect this. Gwen Graham has had a commanding lead throughout this entire primary campaign. Andrew Gilliam's late campaign surge enough to carry him to victory tonight. And despite being hailed as a centrist, a moderate, and most viable candidate to challenge the Republican, it seems the progressive wing of the Florida Democratic Party has pulled this one out. I can tell you just within the last few minutes, once this Gilliam victory was announced, we've seen a few supporters exit the bar and concert venue here in downtown Orlando. Many of them are deciding to leave, get a jump start. We have not heard from candidate Gwen Graham yet or when she might take the stage to address the crowd. But as soon as we hear when she will come out and address this loss tonight, we will certainly bring it to you live. Wendy Jameson.
Ryan, thank you. And as you're looking at the results, the tally once again, Andrew Gilliam 34%, Gwen Graham's 32%. That now means it will be Andrew Gilliam versus Ron DeSantis.
All right, nonstop coverage of Democracy 2018 on all of our platforms. Stay with us there.
Welcome to our special coverage of Democracy 2018 on this special history-making night and the huge political bombshell just breaking tonight. Andrew Gilliam just winning the race over Gwen Graham. And I'm here flanked by my experts here tonight, Dr. Susan McManus with USF and former Representative Jim Davis. Okay, going forward here, you're going to have a matchup. This really is a political earthquake tonight that is going to have huge consequences, not only in Florida, but throughout the country. You have a matchup where the candidates could not be more opposite. Ron DeSantis for the Republican Party and Andrew Gilliam for the Democratic Party, both under the age of 40, by the way, and obviously history in the making here with Andrew Gilliam being the first African-American nominee to represent a major party in a governor's race. I mean, you can't really understate what is at stake here.
Oh, absolutely not. The stakes are high. Florida, after all, is the third largest state, and this governor is very powerful. We have a 2020 presidential election coming up. It's always good when your party has the governor. And the next governor is going to have veto power over the congressional redistricting plan that's going to be drawn after the 2020 census, where it looks like Florida's going to pick up at least 2 seats in Congress.
And getting back to the contrast that the voters are now going to face in these choices between Andrew Gilliam and Ron DeSantis, this really is I hesitate to use the word bipolar, but an electorate that could not be more on opposite sides. You wonder what the play is going to be going forward, how this campaign is going to play out in people's living rooms, what those attack ads are going to look like.
Both candidates have a fundamental choice to make about how they're going to run. What this race tonight shows is we are very divided as a state, both inside the Republican and Democrats. We haven't even gotten to the independents yet. So what Ron DeSantis needs to decide, is he going to continue running the campaign he's running, which is really just a referendum on the president? Does Andrew Gilliam run as our Barack Obama, somebody who's going to bring about change and try to bring people together, not a red or blue state, a purple state?
Well, and the energy came in the last few days here as we're looking at live pictures from Orlando, where I should point out Andrew Gilliam had about a 10,000 vote lead there tonight over Gwen Graham. And we're, by the way, when you talk about numbers, this is a live shot of the Gilliam campaign, by the way. We're waiting on for him to make an appearance as they're getting the crowd pretty excited, and obviously they have reason to be excited there tonight. But we're talking about a total swing here of about just north of 30,000 votes between Gwen Graham and Andrew Gilliam, where it sits right now here at approaching the 9:30 mark. Obviously those numbers could change, but 2 percentage points separating these two, but that's all it took. This was not playing out according to script. All the polls indicated that Gwen Graham, the centrist candidate, the candidate with the last name Graham, whose father used to be the governor, Bob Graham, was going to take tonight, as you see how the numbers divide there. What perhaps no one thought or took into account was the speed at which the momentum around Andrew Gilliam crystallized, and in the particular corners of Florida that rush of votes came from.
Right, the great bus tour through all of these major areas where he did very well in the waning hours of the campaign, the infusion of mega bucks from people outside the state who wanted to see a progressive do well, and I think he will be well funded in this next phase of the campaign. But what we did see that we haven't talked about a little bit is that it appears that a higher percentage of Republicans turned out than Democrats. So obviously one of the things Gilliam's going to have to do, it's a problem that sometimes Democrats face in Florida when they lose slightly, is they really have to ramp up that turnout. It doesn't look like a tsunami blue wave, but there's clearly going to be some blue gains, but this is what this turnout thing is going to be looked at by people who are looking forward to Florida as a whole.
Where does the independent voter find a home? Because again, everyone's going to their corners here. Andrew Gilliam is representing essentially a Bernie Sanders progressive wing version of Florida. Ron DeSantis, obviously we know where he's coming from. Donald Trump essentially gave him his endorsement. That's where he rocketed out of nowhere. So if you have, a couple of 100,000 independent voters in Florida?
28%, much more than that.
So more than that. All right. So where does 28% go in a race like this?
Well, and let's pick a specific example. Let's pick that voter in Pasco County that voted for Barack Obama and Donald Trump. So what do they want? They want change, and they want somebody that's going to get things done. Now, the president's going to have to run on his record, and that's going to be a mixed record. So I think that's the opening for both these candidates. Who's going to get something done? Who's going to bring this very divided state together?
I don't think you can make an argument, though, that either side is less or more passionate, because you could say that the passion around a voter that voted for Gilliam tonight is probably very personal, and you could say equally the same thing about a DeSantis voter. So if you're going to just appeal to the base, who wins in that kind of a race?
Well, again, it's who can turn out people, and that's the real challenge. And how much do you rely upon television ads? Let's look at it. Television ads weren't that effective. People are getting a bit jaded. But I think there's another thing that Congressman and I were talking about, and that is the choice of these two candidates reflects another phenomenon that we're seeing in American politics, and certainly here in Florida. people do not want people who have been in office a long time. So you see that was sort of what happened to Putnam. He was seen as, how many years has he served? It's one of the challenges now that Senator Nelson's going to have.
Establishment
but these
is
two
out.
candidates were, they were the least well-funded, brand new, and that's what people wanted, something different.
This is going to be a national race, make no mistake about it. You're going to see a lot more of Bernie Sanders in Florida over the next few months here. You're going to see a lot more Donald Trump, if not through Twitter. He may physically show up to a few more rallies or more. So does this not become something even more than a race to win the governor's mansion? Does it also not become a tip of the hat to what 2020 could look like?
As Floridians, we risk this race getting hijacked by the national parties and the partisans.
Well
and this
said.
becomes the key question here, whether this is going to be a discussion about the future of Florida. We've got some major needs as we sit here tonight. You've got schools without air conditioning. We've got one of the highest rates of uninsured people in the country in terms of health care. We've got the worst pollution we've seen in decades. Is that what we're going to talk about in this governor's race?
Tide?
The red tide, what's happening down in both St. Lucie and in Lee, Collier County. That's the fundamental question, how these candidates choose to address those issues as opposed to just having a national referendum on the president.
And just to give you some contrast to these two candidates, the proof really is in their policy positions here as we look live in Orlando, where Andrew Gilliam is set to take the stage at any moment right now. Andrew Gilliam opposes charter schools, supports gun reform, wants to abolish ICE. Ron DeSantis opposes gun control, A+ rating from the NRA, strong position on stopping illegal immigration, wants to stop Common Core, and is for charter schools. Andrew Gilliam about to take the stage tonight and speak on something that I think it's fair to say no one thought would happen. Perhaps he did think it would happen, though. He sensed that the energy was on his side, the momentum clearly on his side in the last 48 hours. Let's listen in live to Andrew Gilliam.
Well, while we're waiting on him, it just shows once again that polls cannot predict turnout, and you can't really capture a surge at the end of a campaign. But a lot of people wait till the end to make up their mind who they're going to vote for and whether they're going to vote.
Let's listen into what Andrew Gilliam said.
All right. Are y'all ready to put Florida blue? I gotta tell you all, I am overwhelmed. There were just a few people who said that this moment would not be possible. A few. And then there were a few more who believed that this thing was possible. I realize that for some, they are just tuning into the possibility of what this means for all of us, right? There's some. And I want you to know, as I have said, as I moved all across the state of Florida, that this thing is not about me. It never has been, and it never will be. This race is about every last single one of us, right? Those of us in this room, those of us outside of this room, those of us who voted for me, those who did not vote at all, those who couldn't vote for me because they may be Republicans. But you want to know something? I want to be their governor too, right? I want to be their governor too. Because our story, as y'all have heard me say so many times over the course of this race, our story, for me, began down in Richmond Heights and Miami-Dade County to my mother Frances, who's here with me, who was a school bus driver, and my daddy Charles. And my daddy Charles, growing up, who was a construction worker. In fact, when my father didn't have construction work to do, you would find him on a street corner selling fruits or vegetables. On Saturday morning, he would set up his fruit stand and his flower stand across the street from the cemetery and sell flowers to bereaved families. Between my mother and father, they are the best examples of hard work that I know to this day. They're the ones. They are the ones who have taught me what persistence is. Before I could define the terms of the word, I knew what it meant not to quit. I knew what it was to persevere. I knew what it meant to silence and quiet the haters, right? The naysayers. I love you back. I love you back. But because of their example, it instilled in me a quality of hard work that I'll never forget. As the fifth of 7 kids and the first of my siblings to graduate from high school and the first to graduate from college, you can't tell anybody in our family we don't know what it means to see intergenerational poverty interrupted at the hands of a good public education. It is those very same GHS, my high school. It's those very same public school teachers who poured into me, who told me I could when I thought I couldn't, who told me that I could go further even when I thought I had reached my limits. It's those teachers who made it possible for me to go to college at the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU. I cannot thank enough my Florida A&M University family who have held me up all throughout this race. But I also can't hesitate to thank those people who didn't know me from Adam Cat, who, as I traveled around the state, they took hold of our vision and our mission and our plans for a state that makes room for all of us. Not just the well-heeled and the well-connected, but all of us. And I sincerely believe that what is going to deliver us to victory in November is the fact that there are everyday hardworking people in this state who believe that they deserve a voice in our government too, and we're going to give it to them. We're going to give it to them. The point has never been lost on me that my name on the ballot is simply a vessel. It's simply the name. But what is underneath that name are all the issues that we care so deeply about. What's beneath my name is the belief that we ought to pay teachers what they are worth for doing the most difficult job that exists on earth. What is beneath my name is our belief that our public education system and our public tax dollars ought to be used for the public education system to educate and lift all kids. What is beneath my name, what is behind and beneath my name is a belief, a very deep and passionate belief, that anybody who works a full-time job, who gets up every day of the week, who spend 40 hours full-time giving themselves and their life into their profession and to their work, it is my belief that they ought to earn a wage that they can live on and not be paid poverty wages as they render service into people into this state. What I also believe is that folks ought to be able to work one job, not 2 or 3, but one full-time job as a way to make ends meet. What is beneath my name is the belief that we deserve a governor who actually believes in science. Actually believes in science. Who is going to arrest back control of our Department of Environmental Protection and make it mean something again. Where we have clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, oceans that are not contaminated with red tide and blue-green algae suffocating off our sea life. There's not a profit margin in the state of Florida that ought to be able to rob us of those elements of clean water, clean air, and good oceans. What is beneath my name is a belief that we have to treat healthcare in this state like a right and not a privilege. I believe that. And it begins by expanding Medicaid for over 700,000 of the most medically needy people in this state. You can also rest assured that when I'm governor of the state of Florida, if the president decides to send us $2.4 billion to build high-speed rail across the I-4 corridor, we're going to bring that money right here into the state of Florida. Right? Right? Because the truth is that these aren't Republican or Democratic issues. The job of the governor of the state of Florida is to do what is in the best interest of the people of the state of Florida. I look forward to being that governor because I know that beneath my name is also a desire by the majority of people in this state to see real criminal justice reform take hold in the state of Florida. The kind of criminal justice reform that allows people who make a mistake to be able to redeem themselves from that mistake, return to society, have their right to vote, but also have their right to work, to earn a good wage. You all, this is not my moment, this is our moment. This is our moment. We could not be here today were it not for the struggle, the contributions, the hard work, the organizing, the self-organizing, the folks who when we went into places and we didn't have flyers to hand out. I went back a week later and they had made their own flyers, right? The places where we had no volunteer organization, people began to self-organize and volunteer. We're in this place because of the everyday people of this state, and I can't go any further without at least acknowledging that I'm here because I'm buoyed up on both my left and my right side. My rib, the wind beneath my wings, the woman who makes me smile just a little bit wider. The woman who, in my absence, has been an amazing mother, an amazing partner. And y'all, she's going to be an amazing first lady for the state of Florida. My wife. I love you. I love you, baby. We together with all of you over the next several months are going to make our way all across the state of Florida to red counties, to blue counties, to purple counties, and we're going to unite this state in ways that are unparalleled in the history of the state of Florida. We're going to bring people together not off of our superficial differences, race, color, sexual orientation, who we choose to love, right? Those are not going to be our dividing lines. What's going to bring us together is our common and shared belief that regardless of where you come from, regardless of what your mother or your father did for a profession, regardless of what side of the tracks you live on, that every single Floridian ought to have their equal and fair shot at the American dream. But what we're also going to do over these next several months is we're going to make clear to the rest of the world that the dark days that we've been under coming out of Washington, that the derision and the division that has been coming out of our White House. That right here in the state of Florida, we are going to remind this nation of what is truly the American way. What is truly the American way. Which simply is that you can start from the bottom, Richmond Heights, South Dade County, and make your way literally to the top of this state. And be of service to all people, have a message of love, of unity, of connection, of common sense, of decency, of what is right and not what is wrong. And that message is big enough, it's wide enough, it's deep enough to hold all of us, right? It is. And so in the words of my grandmother, who growing up used to regularly anoint my head with oil, she would say a blessing over us, a mantra, if you will. She would say, boy, go to school, mind your teachers, get your lesson, and one day bring that education home. She would say, bring it home for your little brother and your little sister who don't know what it is yet. Bring it home for that little boy who you play with down the street. God knows where he's going to end up. Bring it home for your mama and your daddy who get up every day to go out there and work on somebody else's job, to keep a roof over your head and clothes on your back and food on the table. Bring it home. As I've said time and time again, I didn't always know what my grandmother was communicating to me. But I would come to learn that what she was saying was, baby, it ain't just about you. That it's not even just about your brother and your sister. It's not just about your friend down the street. It's about all of us. There was a belief that if I went far in life, we would all go far in life. That if I did good, we would all do good. Well, Florida, y'all know what? We got to bring that sense of community and collection and collectivism back to the state of Florida. That the way the state of Florida does good, the way of the state of Florida to be a leader again, is not for us to pray for somebody else's defeat or demise, but for us to figure out a way that we can create a boat that all of us can ride in, because I truly believe that a rising tide does lift all boats. And you want to know something? Right here in the state of Florida tonight, we have shown the rest of the country that we can be the David in the situation where there's a Goliath. That you can be the non-millionaire, you can come from working class family, and you can make your way to the top. Well, y'all, let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. We've got a few months to go, and we've got to redouble our efforts as we go forward. We've got to get out there and organize like we've never organized before. We've got to get out there and bring all the people that we can to our side. We've got to do that, y'all, not by being hateful, not by being derisive or divisive, but by reminding Florida of who we are, and by reminding the country that, you know what, the American way still lives, and if the state of Florida has to show the rest of the world, then let it begin right here tonight. Let it start right here in the state of Florida. As I conclude, I want to give a personal word of appreciation to all four of my opponents. They were worthy opponents. They all had their own visions for the future of this state. And now it is time for all five of us to come together and to work together to move our state forward. I have already spoken with Chris King, Phil Levine, and Gwen Graham this evening, who both offered their words of respect and also their words of support. And so now, y'all, we've got to do everything that we can, because we're on the way home, but we ain't brought it all the way home yet. All right? So what we've got to do now is commit ourselves to bringing it home, not for me, not for just those of us in this room, but for the names that we can't call and the faces that we can't recognize. We're going to bring this thing home. Y'all, tonight, as the mayor of Florida's capital city, I humbly accept the Democratic nomination.
All right, you've been listening to the new Democratic candidate for governor, and he has been backed by progressives and especially endorsed by former presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. And we have a tweet just recently released. We will read to you in just a moment, but first we want to go over to Gwen Graham, who is conceding right now. So we'll take a listen in.
Well, first, I love you all too. I love you all too. I love you too. I love you so much. And look, obviously this is not the remarks that I was hoping to deliver tonight. But I want to say to everyone in front of me how much I appreciate all your support. This has been an incredible campaign. When we started this race on May 2nd, 2017, I had no idea how much this experience would fill me up with how special the people of Florida are and how special the state of Florida is. So let me say, I recently called, just a few minutes ago spoke to Andrew Gilliam, and I congratulated him on his victory. And I said to him that Andrew and I have been friends for a very long time. We were friends before this race began, we are friends today, and we will be friends into the future. And I said, now, Andrew, go out and win this damn thing. Because this is too important for the state of Florida. This is too important. This election was never about the candidate. It was always about the importance for the future of the state that we all love. And our children and our public schools and our environment and our health care and our economy. The future of Florida is at stake. But I want to recognize some people on the stage, if it's okay with everyone here. And there's words up here, but I'm not reading these words. First, I want to recognize my husband. So I moved to Orlando in March. So he's happy to have me back now. I've been living in Orlando. He lives in Tallahassee with our 2 dogs and 1 bunny rabbit. So Steve, thank you for your sacrifices throughout this campaign, and I love you very much. Now I want to introduce 3 of the most important people in my life who I am proudest of. And in my life, the fact that I have raised 3 of the best young people in the world is my greatest accomplishment, So, my daughter Sarah, I'm doing this in age, by the way. My daughter Sarah, my son Graham, and my son Mark Ernest. 3 incredible young people. I may be a little bit biased, but trust me, I'm right. And I'd also like to recognize my mom and dad. My parents think, I agree with you. My parents committed so much of their time, energy, effort, and love to this campaign. For me, one of the greatest gifts, I never thought I was going to run for office. This was not something in my life plan. But in my decision to run for office, I got to hear every day people share with me stories about how much my parents have positively impacted their lives. And what a gift as a daughter for me. So thank you, thank you. And then also my sisters are here, and again in age, because they want to make sure everyone knows that I am the much older sister. My sister Sissy, my sister Suzanne, and my sister Kendall, and Suzanne's husband Tom. So, as I said, I was expecting to give a much different speech tonight, but there are so many people who are involved in this campaign who care about Florida, who want to make sure that the future for Florida and Floridians is taken care of. And now we must all put all of our efforts behind Andrew Gilliam and make sure that we do everything we can to have him elected governor on November 6, 2018. To make sure we do everything we can. And I give you my word that whatever Andrew asked of me, I will do, because this election, again, is about Florida, the future of Florida. That's what we were fighting for. It was never about the candidate. It's about the state. So I thank you all so much. Thank you for being along with me on this journey. It has been an incredible experience. And, sweetheart, I'm coming home. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're listening live to Gwen Graham there as she gave her concession speech to her crowd there in Orlando tonight. Andrew Gilliam getting the Democratic nomination for governor. That was a big push in the end of the following weeks, the final weeks there of the campaign, where Gilliam had a push there on the ground with his bus tour, with an influx of money, and of course, with the help of Bernie Sanders.
That's right. And Bernie Sanders tweeting just moments ago, congratulations to Andrew Gilliam on his victory. Tonight, Floridians joined Andrew in standing up and demanding real change and showed our nation what is possible when we stand together. Let's make history this November and make Andrew Gilliam the next governor of Florida. Again, this is from Bernie Sanders, who endorsed him and really helped his campaign take off very late in the game, but it certainly worked.
Never too late.
Never too late.
Never too late. We want to thank you for watching our continuing coverage. We're going to go to a break and we'll come right back. We're going to break down the last of the numbers for you one more time.
To see it. You've gotta go! Florida's largest home show, Florida State Fairgrounds. This Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
The big show, where homeowners can see thousands of exhibits.
Get great deals and exciting new ideas.
Remodel, decorate, landscape.
Florida's largest home show, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Kitchens, baths, patios, sliding doors and windows, hot tubs and gazebos.
Florida's largest home show, Florida State Fairgrounds. This Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
You gotta go.
It's another Turner exposition.
Taking action for you means a commitment to covering the issues that affect you.
And nothing gets you talking more than getting around Tampa Bay.
So whether it's cars or mass transit, roads or sidewalks,
our goal is simple: driving Tampa Bay forward.
That means getting results that will keep you and your family safe,
no matter how you get around.
ABC Action News, driving Tampa Bay forward and taking action for you.
With age comes wisdom, maturity, high blood pressure, diabetes, respiratory problems. Well, you get the idea. That's why Baycare provides access to a comprehensive range of health services, designed specifically to prevent and treat those health issues that come with age. Because even if you can't stay young, we can help you stay healthy.
Never stop chasing the story. Be committed to being there, on the scene. ABC Action News, the Bay Area's trusted evening news, and World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.
With hurricanes, it's what you do before one hits that can keep your family safe. And with ABC Action News, we're here to help. Just go to abcactionnews.com/hurricane or download our free app to get everything you need to know to get your home storm ready. Brought to you by our community partners.
Important healthcare notice. Audible, the nation's leading hearing care provider, is offering a 45-day risk-free trial on the just-released A4 hearing aid with new patented microchip technology. If you play the TV too loudly, or if listening in some situations has become difficult, Audible Hearing Centers invite you to evaluate the all-new A4 hearing aid for 45 days. To take part in this risk-free trial, call the location nearest you to schedule your free hearing test.
Welcome back to our Democracy 2018. I'm so tired. This is how long it's been. 2018 continuous coverage. It's been quite a night. We want to roll through some of the latest results, especially for the governor's race. And we start with, I believe, the Republican candidates. Yep. Yes?
I'm going to pull those up for you.
There you see it.
Ron DeSantis, 56% over Adam Putnam's 37% tonight. A big blowout on that side of the ticket.
And if we looked at the Democratic side, you can see there, breaking news. This is the big story tonight. Andrew Gilliam pulling ahead of Gwen Graham, 34% to 31%. Again, 99% of the precincts reporting, the Associated Press naming him the winner. Andrew Gilliam, your new Democratic candidate. You see him side by side. November 6th, the general election, it will be Andrew Gilliam running against Ron DeSantis for the governor of Florida.
So they're going to be a very interesting next few weeks as these two go head to head. For the ticket in November as well. We want to thank you for joining us on all of our streaming platforms tonight, including Facebook Live. We're going to reset here for just a moment and get all the latest information together for you on ABC Action News at 11.
And we continue now with more of the local races, and you can follow them. Stay here. Have a good night.
Important healthcare notice. Audible, the nation's leading hearing care provider, is offering a 45-day risk-free trial on the just-released A4 hearing aid with new patented microchip technology. If you play the TV too loudly, or if listening in some situations has become difficult, Audible Hearing Centers invite you to evaluate the all-new A4 hearing aid for 45 days. To take part in this risk-free trial, call the location nearest you to schedule your free hearing test.
When storms roll in, we roll out. The ABC Action News Storm Tracker, the Bay Area's only mobile weather station, equipped with advanced technology, taking you right to the storm to keep you informed and ready.
Sponsored by Elder Ford of Tampa.
Got to see it. You've got to go. Florida's largest home show, Florida State Fairgrounds. This Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
The big show, where homeowners can see thousands of exhibits.
Get great deals and exciting new ideas.
Remodel, decorate, landscape.
Florida's largest home show, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Kitchens, baths, patios, sliding doors and windows, hot tubs and gazebos.
Florida's largest home show, Florida State Fairgrounds. This Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
You gotta go.
It's another Turner exposition.
ABC Action News in the morning is real local news. We keep it real, like your family. We're local, like your neighbor, with news that you all can use. Sure, we cover all the basics, but we also give you that extra you don't find other places. Life hacks, DIY, home improvement, pet improvement. Boost your resume, make money from home, quit your job. We're kidding, but seriously, what are you waiting for? Be ready for the day with Good Morning Tampa Bay, weekdays from 4:30 to 10 on ABC Action News.
With age comes wisdom, maturity, high blood pressure, diabetes, respiratory problems. Well, you get the idea. That's why Baycare provides access to a comprehensive range of health services, designed specifically to prevent and treat those health issues that come with age. Because even if you can't stay young, we can help you stay healthy.
Never stop chasing the story. Be committed to being there on the scene. ABC Action News, the Bay Area's trusted evening news, and World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.